Hello everyone, thought I'll do a knife review today. It's my day off, so if you haven't done a video in a while, I think a storm is coming, so I'm losing daylight. So it was a lot nicer earlier. So yeah. So today, looking at two Todd Begg Bodegas. This is a field grade carbon fiber, and this is the Bodega 2.0, just full titanium framed. I guess for seniority's sake, I got this one first. Got it back in last October, and this one I got beginning of summer? No, earlier than that. This spring actually. So yeah, so seniority, this knife. I picked this knife off the blade forms. The guy pretty much used it a little bit and just decided to sell it. And honestly, how much he used, I really don't know. But when I got the edge, it was pretty dull, which is going to lead to the next point. It has not a tumble finish, but kind of a satin, because I applied this satin myself. So I'm going to get a story out of the way. Is that what happened was, because it was dull, I was trying to sharpen it. My stupid mistake, well, two things happened. One thing is, when I was first sharpening on a belt sander, the plunge grind, because the nature of this, the swooping grind is the fact this part is a little thicker. So on the cross sections, if you notice, there's actually a little kind of a triangle here. Well, it was a lot more pronounced on a high hollow grind, because of the high hollow grind. The higher your grind is the more pronounced it is. So you actually lose some cutting edge due to that. So there was that. Then I put on my KME sharpener, and I thought, you know what, I want to maximize my cutting edge, because it was about a quarter to almost half an inch of the edge was just not being used, because due to that the grind. I mean, it looked gorgeous, but I want a little more for function, because especially for a field grade, and I want to take advantage of this 3/4 inch blade instead of losing almost half an inch. So I thought, okay, cool. So I do that, and then the ground, the edge was just even until it came up here, I almost cut myself, and until it got to the heel, which just went up, and it looked horrible. So at that point, I thought, well, at least it's sharp, but it looked horrible. So I was just thinking, let me email Begg Knives and see what a blade replacement will cost. If it's $100, $200, I'll just go and do a blade swap and just get a fluted blade, because when I got this, I've always wanted a fluted blade Bodega. But at that point, all the fluted ones, they're asking $1,400, $1,500 for them. Just like, that's a little more than what I want to spend right now. So so I thought, emailed them, and then they emailed me back, and they quoted me, and then and also I wanted a satin blade on it, and they quoted me several $100s. I won't get into specifics of it, and I just thought, that's more than what I have into this. That's more than half of what I have into this knife, because I picked this up at a really great price, because because at that point I was not a chooser. I just thought, I want a Bodega, just satisfy that itch. So I thought I could do that, but then I get so invested in it that I will guarantee to lose a chunk of money if I ever decide to sell this. I was like, you know what, I'll play it safe, and I'll just live with what I got. Well, the more I stare at it, the more that pissed me off. The more I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. So I thought, I'll just apply my own satin. And that's pretty much what happened. Start off with 400 grit and just stopped around 800. And it's not, knife maker awesome, but it's not bad. Plus some other scratches from use and whatnot. And then because of the mistake, the satin did so much of it, but the heel damage couldn't really be removed, so I have to augment the finger choil here. So this choil is a little bit bigger than a standard Bodegas. But still a good looking knife. I mean, honestly, if I didn't mention it, probably most people wouldn't even realize that it's, been modified. So there. And the other Bodega is the Bodega 2.0. I said, I've always wanted one with a fluted blade. So this one, I love it, but it left me wanting, because I wanted that fluted blade. But I really wanted one in satin. So in a sense, yes, I'm left wanting again. But I've really grown to like this blade. The story behind this was actually, it was kind of ironic. It was like the day after I got my paycheck, and I was on USN. I was looking, and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to spend some money and get a new knife, and So I think I saw this one. It was really, really reasonably priced. So I thought, why not? What the hell? Just go and grab it. And this price was just great. And the guy even showed his original receipt, so he was taking a loss on it. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. He was like, I've always wanted a fluted blade Bodega. Plus, I wanted with full titanium. It feels nicer. I personally prefer carbon fiber, but what I love what they did, the Todd shop, is that after they anodized this, they went with a mill and just highlight and give these highlights, this line. It looks wonderful. You know, I love it. So yeah, it looks so good. So that's the story of that Bodega. So what you're looking at here is, well, they're titanium frame locks and bolt-on locks. And the blade steel is N690 for both blades. That's what Todd uses. And he runs them at 60, 61 Rockwell when I confirmed with him. There's actually another story behind that. Was actually all my sharpening. I had to. This was a pain to sharpen because of how hard it was, and I had to resort to using my belt sander and relax. Don't before you kind of chump on me for it. When I sharpen a belt sander, I dip after every pass, so I know what I'm doing. So now it's ferociously sharp. I mean, as I almost cut myself earlier, and these are great steels, especially at 60, 61, because when I talk to Todd, you know, and I agree with his way of doing things, is that with folders, you don't need to worry about toughness. It's really bottom of the list of needs. With folders, your most important thing is edge retention, because it's not really going to see any hard use because it's a folder. It's a folder. That's really all I have to say about it. You know, for hard use stuff, use a fixed blade. So. And in between the two, I honestly prefer this one more, a lot more. 2 reasons. Main reason, one, it's actually not even just the fluted blade. It's actually the second reason. The main reason I like it better is actually because it is ground thinner. If you can look at that, where my fingers are pinching, it's ground very thin. So it's a really great slicer. This one, it was surprised to me that it wasn't ground nearly as thin as that, which I think it makes more sense because the high hollow ground, you want more stability for the edge, so you have to leave the overall profile a little bit thicker. So I kind of understand where that comes from. You know, let's see, let's go and get this out of the way so I don't think about it. So in case you guys wonder about dimensions, so you're looking at almost like right at 9 inches. Yeah, it's pretty much right at 9 inches. And then, you know, a couple comparisons. If you have a paramilitary 2, which I think everyone should, here's a Para 2 compared to it. You know, it's just barely short of it. Now, I know what the way my camera is set up right now, it's like this Bodega looks shorter than this one. They're actually the same size. Actually, no, this one is a little bit shorter because I had to sharpen a bit of it away. Well, yeah, it's just barely shorter. So these are pretty close in size. This is just a hair shorter. And another knife that's a pretty common one is the Benchmade 710. It's a little bit longer. So it's a good size knife, but it's not gigantic. All right. So I'm sure everyone's more interested in this one. This one has a tumble finish. I wanted the satin because I think it'll look nicer, and I think, you know, the satin blades do look nicer, especially with when this the fuller is dark. I think it's just the scales left after heat treat, and I think it's a nice touch. It looks great. The bolt-on lock. I actually have a rant about the bolt-on lock, which related to that. Ceramic IKBS, which is quite wonderful. I did not cut my finger, don't worry. It caught my thumb, and the only reason why, you know, the benefit of this kind of grind is that this little triangle section here, it's unsharpened. So it's about, you know, a little more than 1/4 of an inch that's unsharpened. So when, you know, blade drops, it's catching right there. So when I post, you know, videos of this, people are like, oh, you're just cutting your thumb. You almost guillotine your thumb off. It's like, no, not quite. My finger's perfectly safe. And then with this one's, you know, like that. This one's a little stiffer because I had to tune the detail on this one a little bit. Yeah. So this one's the full carbon fiber frame that's been, 3D machined, and it is gorgeous. I love how carbon fiber sparkles, and I wish the sun is out so I can actually really show you this. It's a really nice grade of carbon fiber, and the carbon fiber and titanium colors always look great. And then the backspacer, both backspacers are pretty much the same. This one's blue, the other one's gray. Centering, so this one's perfect. This one's off a little bit, and it's not Todd's fault. This was actually perfect when I got it. It's off because, well, when I applied the sand to it, I had to use a sandpaper to just take off the surface layer. Well, apparently I just removed just enough that it affected our tolerance a bit. So Todd likes his tight tolerances. And lockup. So pretty early lockup. It's like what, 30, 40-ish. This one's actually earlier. So the lockup's early and it's secure. And they're just, that lock's just not gonna fail on you. Rock solid, no play. That's perfect blade drop and no play. And actually, I need to oil this a little bit. Like the D10 ball is running dry. I feel the dragging a little bit. You can hear a little bit of it, but with a drop of oil, I mean, it is magic. All right. Oh yeah, I forgot. Pocket clip. I love this pocket clip. It's like a deep carry, but my problem with deep carry is the fact you have nothing to grab onto for most of the time. It's so rounded off. It's kind of like this one. Well, this one's not so bad because it has that hole there for you to grab onto. But this one, you just pinch the screws and you pull your knife out. So it's a pretty deep carry, but not like super deep that you can't carry. You can't draw your knife. The ceramic ball does a good job of retaining the knife in pocket. It's a great pocket clip. I really like this. It's a simple spring pocket clip, but it's doing with such a unique style that it's such a cool touch. Oh, and another difference that the field grade is based off of the earlier runs of the Bodegas, from what I understand. So it's a little thicker. The 2.0s are thinner. So if you see the thinness, it's just a little bit thinner. I need to get my caliper out here to give you exact numbers. So yeah, and both knives, the jimpings are completely useless. You just slide on that. I think it's more for aesthetics. However, with both knives, I really don't think you need jimping. Because it's the flipper and the way the handle is contoured, your hand is locked in. So if you need to poke someone with it, you don't really need to worry about your hand slipping forward. So, of course, you have your finger choil for close-up work and whatnot. It's kind of ironic. So I was trying to... Actually, I did manage to save like an eighth to a quarter of an inch of the edge back after my little stupid thing. Harpoons look so good. It's like that's... I think that's what's one to make this knife so attractive, is just the harpoon. But the fluting just adds a little extra to it. Okay, my little rant up with a bolt-on lock. So when I screwed this up, I wanted to just do a blade swap, and I figured, okay, it's paying for a blade. I figure like Chris Reeve does it, Benchmade does it, Todd Begg probably does it too, or at least it wouldn't hurt to ask. Well, they do it, but it's expensive because not only do they have to replace the blade, they have to replace the lock. It's like, what? And it's because I thought the initial point of the Bodegas was, at least with the bolt-on lock and everything, if the lock goes bad, well, you swap the lock out. Blade goes bad, you swap the blade out and whatnot. The parts are interchangeable. But apparently these two are interconnected. So at that point, the only material cost you're saving is this. But there's so much machine work going into this, it's almost like, I don't think you're really saving all that much money, in honesty. So I just thought that's kind of defeating the purpose of having this kind of interchangeable parts if you have to machine two parts simultaneously. So I thought it was kind of stupid. I mean, Todd may chime in and give me a better reason or something, but I don't get it. I really don't. I thought it's almost, it sounds horrible to put it. It should be like a quasi Lego, so you can just swap the parts out. Ideally I can swap this to that, but apparently this entire knife is made to fit within all these parts by itself, so it has its own identity, which then once again goes to like, you're not really saving it looks cool, but I don't think you're saving a whole lot by separate parts. So that's kind of a little rant. I may be completely wrong on this, but that's what I was thinking about back then when I was thinking about sending this thing in to get a new blade. But apparently at the same time I have to get a new lock for it too. So yeah, that was that little rant. Let's see what else I need to go over. The edge retention on these are awesome. That's one of the most notable things about these bodegas that I've noticed when I was using them and stuff, is just after I sharpened this one, I really didn't even have to touch it up. I mean, maybe couple of light passes on a strop just to bring it hair shaving, or continually hair shaving, because it never lost its hair shaving edge when I was using it. And it's just sometimes I feel like it just needs a little bit of light touch, you just kind of bring it all back. And that's what all I had to do for these two. And it's been a few good months since I sharpened it, and with this knife I carry it at least once a week because I just love this knife that much. So it's a very good steel, especially at the higher Rockwell. That's something you have to consider when you're buying these more expensive knives, is that you do get a better heat treat. You get a little more out of the materials that you're given. Because most production knives, N690 is really ran at most 59, 60-ish, not all the way up to 61. So because when you run up higher, you do increase the wear resistance of it, and it's costing more on machines that way because you're wearing them out faster. So it's just everything becomes just playing with decimals and fractions when you're doing big production stuff. And I do appreciate Todd for actually, running this hard. And that's what I feel like, and then people, one of the elephants in the room, I guess, is the fact people wondering, it's like, you pay that much for this knife. Bodegas are expensive. I definitely agree. However, every time I talk to Todd, she's like, yeah, there's over 40 hours worth of work going to each knife. So that's not just a production knife you CNC out all your parts and just slap them together. That's a lot of hand fitting and everything that's going into it. Usually material cost is the cheaper part of things, because it's just materials. Labor is usually what's more expensive. And there is a lot of work going into it. You have to, because this is actually not just a plain anodizing, there's actually a coating, and then the coating, and then you have to go and put it back on the block, machine all these lines in and everything to make it look nice. Someone has to set the ceramic ball in, have to fit and make sure all the parts are fitted in right. And it's a lot of work going into this, and the results are amazing, because I was like, there's nothing I can wiggle on this. It's as solid as they come. And the blade dropped like that. And this is running dry. Like, you hear that little bit, like I said, it needs a little drop of oil to be even smoother. That's all it takes. Let me see if I can get a quick drop of oil on the thing. Oh geez, I'm making a mess. Since I don't have my other oils handy, alright, this has oil now. See? It's just as smooth. If that, it's a little bit smoother, but it's just so much quieter. And this is just running with mineral oil. Like, I didn't even give it nano oil. Usually it has nano oil in it. It's just, this last time I carried and used it, I forgot to reapply the oil. Yeah. So another thing to consider is that these knives, they're ground really, really well. I mean, I think I talked about this. My main reason why I love this knife is how thin it's ground. It's just they're hard used knives and whatnot, but knives ultimately have to cut first. With this knife, it cuts so well, You know, it goes through a rope like butter. And I was one because I do occasional rope tests just for fun. Just like, huh, you know, it's like, how good is this cut rope? And I was like, and sit there and it just chew through it with like very little pressure. I was like, okay, that's a very good edge. It's a very great geometry. You know, and oh yeah, back to my original point of, you know, the cost and everything. It's like, you know, you can get a really nice custom knife for what you paid for a Bodega. But the thing is, you got to consider is that you don't lose anything when you go for a Bodega versus a custom knife, because you're playing with the same amount of tolerance. So it's still a custom knife quality, but you know, it's a mid-tech. So that's something to consider. Because I've had customs where they're lackluster, they don't compete with my Bodegas. I don't carry them nearly as much as my Bodegas. You know? So, and I think these are wonderful knives. They're wonderful users too. You know, it's a shame seeing so many of these just left unused and sitting in collections, just people just flipping them or not doing anything with them. Really enjoy them as they should, because I've really enjoyed the hell out of owning these, just using for my daily chores, you know, in EDC tasks and whatnot. You know, occasionally, almost every other day now, these get kitchen duty. You know, I'll cut up meat, cut up potatoes, onions, whatever, and it needs to be done, because sometimes I just don't want to open a drawer and get my kitchen knives out. I just want to use what's in my pocket, because it's more fun, because every time I get a chance to use my knife, it's more fun than just occasionally waiting to break down a cardboard box or something. That's something else that I do. You know, that's how I use my knives. You know, I may not be out in the field skinning games and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure these are more than capable of doing it, but it's doable. Oh, one more thing I'll talk about: IKBS, and that's just, I think it's a cool information to relay to everyone, is that IKBS is an interesting system. It's not like cage bearings. You know, cage bearings fast. Everyone likes cage bearings. They're a lot less headache. You know, taking this knife apart, it's a headache, because you have free ball bearings everywhere. I mean, it has happened to one of my IKBS knives. I was putting it together, and then like my hand slipped and just everywhere. It was 30 IKBS bearings just scattered all across my workshop. I just thought I wanted to cry at that moment. But no, I spent 2 hours trying to find like little bits of bearings. It was a nightmare. Luckily they were steel, not stainless, not ceramic. But when I was talking to Todd, he was just saying that there's, you know, it's easier to clean IKBS because you don't have a cage for trash to get into. I mean, if you have like, I guess the GTC bearings, you have the cage around there. There is room for trash to get in there, but when you have like the Kershaw ones, there, you know, there's plastic washers around, so you don't need to worry about the trash getting in. So that made sense. You just blow it out. It's easy in, easy out. That's his idea of it. And this is something that Todd told me when I talked to him about Bodega. He said that he once upon a time, because usually some people avoid bearings because they feel like it weakens the axis of around the pivot against lateral stress. Todd said he once parked a car on a Bodega on IKBS. In fact, it was stainless, and didn't bend, flex, give, or anything, and it flipped just fine. It worked just fine. So that's something to consider. And then, like, you know, in a sense, going back to what little physics I do understand and remember, is the fact that spheres are the strongest geometrical shapes. Now, when you have a bunch of spheres around the pivot area, you're getting the strength, added benefit of all the strength of little bearings. I mean, you really try to crush a ball bearing, that's pretty tough. So if you really worry about, like, you know, strength, that's really not of a concern when it comes to Bodega. I think that's really all I have to say about this. I might do a follow-up or something if people have a lot of questions that I forgot to address. So yeah. So that's all the renting I'm going to be doing. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or comment on the videos. I'll try to get to it. Thank you for watching. Until next time.